We're totally becalmed. Completely. The sails are just slapping around. So we're not going anywhere right now.
This morning we are leaving Little Farmers Cay and the shallows of the Exumas bank and sailing further south on the open ocean. We've considered the many possible destinations that lay ahead of us in the southern Bahamas. There are so many intriguing places that we are dying to see, but we also don't want to spread ourselves too thin, knowing that we still have the Abacos to explore on our way back. So we're still undecided on just how far south we want to go with our limited time remaining before our cruising permit expires and hurricane season arrives. We were having an absolute blast sailing on open ocean swells and lively seas again. It reminds us so much of sailing in our home waters of the Pacific Northwest, which is never dull.
We're totally becalmed. Completely. The sails are just slapping around. We were just sailing 6.5 knots in a good 14 knots of wind. And all of a sudden a little squall came through nearby us, maybe a couple miles away, and it just sucked all the wind away. There's nothing, just dead calm. It's so strange. So we're not going anywhere right now, except in circles, like bobbing around like a cork. Hopefully the wind comes back soon, because we won't get anywhere at this rate. We anchored right at the south end of Great Guana Key last night, and we're trying to make headway south again in our quest to get towards the Ragged Islands if we can before our time runs out. But we're totally stuck now. I mean, I don't anticipate being stuck here all day, but I can't even point one direction. I might as well not even hold the tiller. We have no wind, and there's a pretty good sloshy chop just turning us around. We just keep going in circles, actually, no matter what direction I try and steer us at. There's just no wind at all. Good times.
Eventually we had to start the engine and motor the rest of the way to Rat Cay, where we were hoping to find a good anchorage. There was a great looking bay that could have worked nicely, but it ended up being rather shallow with a considerable swell rolling in. There was a large catamaran anchored there, which seemed to be riding reasonably well at anchor, but we decided to motor further around Rat Cay to look for a calmer anchorage for our little boat.
We can look up.
Rat Cay is a beautiful little island with incredible turquoise water and great sandy white beaches. We dropped anchor and had a fantastic evening, enjoying the incredible views from this protected anchorage. But once it got dark and the tides began to change, we soon realized that we were anchored in a strong current of water with an opposing wind. And we all know by this point that opposing wind and tide on turtle means an anchor rode wrapped around the keel. The first thing we tried was the bow and stern anchor arrangement that had worked so well for us at Cambridge Cay. But we quickly realized that it wasn't going to work in the strength of tides and winds that we were facing here at Rat Cay. We nearly wrapped both anchor lines around our keel, with the boat wanting to spin around them like a fork in a plate of spaghetti. When the wind and tide start running an opposing course, our anchored boat immediately begins to turn beam into the wind, with the anchor rod first running along the side of the boat. Then the boat continues to rotate until the anchor rod passes underneath the rudder and fully around the keel as we drift sideways, beam into the current past our anchor. In this position, our boat presents an incredible resistance to the flowing tide, and there is no way to physically manipulate the anchor rod in any way. The only escape is to slip the anchor and come back for it after the tides have changed. After being up half the night messing about with the anchors in a surprisingly strong current, all while being dangerously close to a rocky shore, we gave up and motored back over to the shallow, rolly anchorage near the catamaran, where we tried to get some fitful sleep in the unbearable beam-on swells. We finally gave up on sleep, and as soon as the sun was up, we were up and preparing to leave. Sometime during that exhausting night, it occurred to us that we are both stressed out at stretching ourselves so thin in the time we have left in the Bahamas, and everything that we are looking for is already right there behind us in the Exumas. So we are heading back out onto the open ocean with a new excitement for spending even more time in a place that already feels so much like home to us. We spent nearly the entire day thrashing back to windward and making great time back north to the nearest cut that will get us back onto the shallow and protected Exumas bank. Going through Gallet Cut was gnarly and crazy sketchy, with steep following swells running against a fast tide, but we are fortunately experienced to similar conditions going through the Coos Bay Bar entrance back in Oregon.
That's crazy. It's a gnarly entrance. Wow. I was looking back at waves that were multiple feet over my head and only like 2 feet behind the transom. Nice.
Immediately after passing through the cut, we were in calm conditions again and sailed smoothly the rest of the way to Great Guana Key, where we knew we would be able to get some much needed rest and have no more worries about wrapping the keel.
Dinner again, aboard the Turtle. We've got peanut sauce over rice with fried potatoes and bacon. We made it back from our little expedition south to Rat Cay, which was a rough anchorage, man. That place was just crazy. But we got back here to, where are we? Great Guana Key. We're at Great Guana Key, which we love. We love Great Guana Key. And we're back here at a calm anchorage and having a tasty dinner.